Hello, and welcome to the December edition of our design stream.
Hello.
Patrick, that's a very forward start.
Hello.
It's the Leader Games monthly studio chat design stream. We do these monthly, I guess, usually towards the beginning of the month.
Yeah. It seems to always be the second week lately.
Yeah, lately. Maybe at some point we'll just change it.
Just move it.
Yeah.
January already, because we'll be coming back from break. It's January 1st on Monday, and we've decided already. I don't know if Brooke talked to you, but it'll be next week.
Yeah, it'll be January 10th will be our next one. But that's getting slightly ahead.
So this is Cole, lead designer at creative director at Leader Games, and I'm Patrick Leader, owner of Leader Games. So.
Owner, founder.
Should I have a title?
Yeah, you do. You're the founder and owner and chief executive
of Leader Games.
Get the things done. So we, let's see, we just got back from PAX Unplugged.
Yeah.
How did you find it?
It was a lot of fun. Hold on, we're getting a message from our production staff. No, it was a lot of fun. Not a lot of new stuff there. Onslaught and Frosthaven popped up. Do you want to go?
Yeah, I can fix this. I can fix this. So yeah, talk about PAX Unplugged.
All right, yeah, sure. So so we had a lovely 20 by 20 booth. Did some experimented with our dress a little bit and had 4 tables giving demos. We did 2 Ahoy tables and a Root table, and what was the other game we did? 2 Ahoys, Root, and Fort. And it was lovely. We had a really good sales show. It was very good. Much stronger than last year. I think there were a lot more people at PAX Youth this year.
Like very similar to Gen Con numbers.
Yeah.
And I've talked to other publishers who had kind of the same thing happen.
Yep.
I mean, just normally, to pull people, like, go behind the curtain. Normally at these shows, you kind of have Gen Con and then you have all the other shows. And you're always measuring your show performances, like, did you do half as well as Gen Con, a quarter as well as Gen Con? And this was the first show where, like, our sales were very comparable.
It was actually, so it was like by 4 o'clock, Ted and I did the math, by 3 or 4 o'clock on Saturday, we had outpaced the previous year's PAX.
Yeah.
So it was a good show.
And we didn't bring everything. It was interesting. Like at Gen Con, we kind of had this sales mentality of the Leader Games store, where we brought lots of everything. And it was kind of fun to, like, have people come to the booth and say, hey, no matter what you want, if we've made it and it's in print, you can get it at the store.
Yep.
And at this show, so that was fun for the customer, not so fun for us running a booth with that much stock.
For someone packing it up at the end.
Yeah, for packing it up or for, like, sorting it. And so for this show, we had kind of a more limited selection: Root, Marauder, the Oath Puzzle, and then Ahoy. Things sold great. It was really fun.
Yeah, it was good. It was a lot of fun. And then we showed off ARCs. You showed off ARCs.
Yep. The First Look team showed off.
First Look team. Thank you, First Look team. That was amazing to learn a game in production.
Yeah.
Basically, yeah. And like they were like, we're kind of like, by the way, by the next time we see this, a lot of things will be different, but that's okay. So they.
It's all right. Brooke can handle that.
Okay, yeah, that's. Thank you. So we brought one set in. We probably could have brought 2. A lot of people said you should have brought 2, and I was like, well, boy, it took us like 30 production hours to cook up that one copy, so it didn't get done. Yeah.
Well, and it was like I was trying to print off a second set of pieces, and 3D printers sometimes, the thing gets busted, you can't really see it, and we said, okay, well, it's just not going to be ready in time.
It does what it does. Yeah.
But it was really fun to see people, in the First Look area. That table was always full, and oftentimes, like, one group would kind of queue up behind the group who was playing, and would learn a little bit from the group who had just played, or a First Look person would come over. Sometimes I would ambush people and teach it.
Yeah.
But we pretty much had people playing ARCs from 10 a.m. to midnight.
It was 10 a.m.
completely full. Yeah.
Yeah, 10 a.m. Like the door opened, and there was a group sitting down playing. So it was a lot of fun.
Yep.
So.
And it was tremendously heartening for me because I had brought a working copy of ARCs to Gen Con and had played it and wasn't like super happy with where the design was, mostly because we were still sorting out like what the base arcs was going to be. I was working on the scenario system, and I left Gen Con with many more questions than answers.
Right.
And then the fall has been basically get the campaign stuff in order and then also revisit the core to get it to do what I wanted it to do. And then PAX Unplugged was basically checking in and saying, hey, all that work that you did over the fall with Josh and Kyle and Patty and everyone,
Ta-da.
did it work? Did people like it? And the response was so positive. So I am like charged up about how ARCS was received.
Yeah, we got. I don't want to demotivate you, but we got a ways to go.
We have, it's the thing that I always tell you, you get to tell me, which is like it's a marathon.
It's a marathon.
It's the longest run. So chat asks about the release date for ARCS. It's roughly on schedule for the Kickstarter. So we're hoping for fulfillment, late next year, basically in the next winter. That's looking pretty good. It's hard. At this particular stage, it's hard to know if we are ahead or behind, but we are close to what our initial schedule is.
Trade, international trade is still challenging.
It's like hard to know.
Yeah,
you may hear on the mic our heater turn on occasionally. I'll be very curious when I listen to this in retrospective. If the mic is picking it up, we'll see.
We just have to turn off the heat in the basement
and let everyone
broadcasting. So
get cold.
I like your festive jumper here, and I'm wearing.
Yeah.
I'm wearing a. I got this at a party at the Walker.
Oh yeah.
Art gallery, yeah. So Target was hosting. They do a lot of philanthropy around town. So they're hosting a party there, and I went there because my mother-in-law used to be a member, and then they just gave these out at the end. And
nice.
It's a nice 10-year-old hoodie here. It's there was part of a line they were doing that was going to be, and then of course they didn't follow up on it. This is all reused materials or something. So.
Love it.
Yeah.
This is the a piece of clothing I stole from my wife. I love this sweater so much. She took it from her dead uncle, and I took it from her.
Yikes!
It's the story of the sweater. I'm feeling the season. I love the holiday season. We've been sledding, hot cocoa, watching Christmas movies. It's been great.
And getting cold after cold after cold.
Yeah.
How have you guys been?
Sick always. They're they're in perpetual I don't know, low grade fever, occasional cough, but well enough to go to school. And
Since September.
It's funny, and I feel like this is something that other parents probably understand, and people who aren't parents are probably horrified. But you have to draw a line about where they're well enough to go to school or well enough to stay home, and you have to be careful about drawing that line because there are ways to draw it where if you follow the rule, your child never goes to school. And so we've been you got some sniffles, you're fine.
You're right. Yeah.
You don't have COVID, you're fine. And so, they've been good. But it has been, I think there's always been at least one slightly more sick than the other kid for the past month or so.
And I'm amazed the daycare doesn't send me a photo of the kids just sticking their fingers in each other's noses or something. Because it's everything. It gets everything. So.
So PAX Unplugged was great. You saw some good stuff. I spent more time in the indie part of the hall than I normally do, the smaller publishers. I watched a demo of Mantis Falls.
Yeah, so let's do a shout out of things that we demoed.
Yeah, I saw a demo of Mantis Falls, which is a 2 to 3 player hidden role game.
Ted has no account, told me to pick up a copy of that, so it's been sitting on my desk at home for 6 weeks.
Yeah, it is. It seems kind of compelling. I think I'm into it. And then I saw the I can't remember the name of the company, but I think Elemental is the name of their big box game, and they also have the Puzzle Tarot deck. Great, really cool, beautiful productions.
Cool.
So I hope none of my siblings are watching this chat because there might be some Christmas presents coming away. And then I got to hang out with the Null Signal folks and talk Netrunner, and
I didn't know that.
I got some hats. I picked up, they are really good beanies, good wear.
Well, that's cool. So I played a little bit of. I looked at Clank, I didn't play it, and then Gloomhaven was there, so I looked at that. That was fun. I picked up some RPGs, but right now I'm just drawing a blank on what. So sorry. There was a book called
Into the Wild, which is WYLD, which is like a kind of a system agnostic. Like there's the wild, you have to go explore it. It's like a fantasy setting, or a component in a fantasy setting, and it deals with like. It kind of abstracts the stress of like being away from civilization and dealing with your character declining as they go further and further from town and hunt monsters. So it feels like it has its bones in other games, but it was a nice cool little read. Yeah, so I read that.
My con, I didn't purchase that much stuff at this con outside of gifts, with the exception of I went to the little, Battleground Games always has like a used game alley.
Yeah.
And I bought a copy of I'm the Boss, which is one of my favorite games to buy because my rule with I'm the Boss is it's a game I love so much that if I'm at a con and I don't have access to a copy and it's the right moment to play it, I will see if I can get one, and then we just whoever wins the game gets it.
That's amazing.
And I love just kind of spreading the gospel of that. And then
who'd you play with?
I played it with some good people, some folks from VGG and Shut Up and Sit Down. And
that's pretty cool.
It was a scream. Kyle was in that game. I got to see how scary Tom can be in a negotiation game, which was fun.
I heard he was pretty scary.
And then my favorite pickup of the whole show was I got a copy of. At that same little booth, there was a pretty reasonably priced copy of an old Napoleonic War game. So I got L'Habitude de Victoire, the Habit of Victory, which is a wonderful French, it's not a French war game, but it's about the Napoleonic Wars by Kevin Zucker. And it was like one of those, like, this shouldn't be here, but I'm going to take it home with me. So
I saw the table, the War Room, the World War II, I believe, right? World War II game, and they had croupier sticks at their booth, which was amazing. And it looks like they're working on a Napoleonic game.
I'm in.
Yeah.
You caught my attention.
So that was cool. It was a cool show. It was good to see people.
We hadn't seen Kyle
since
before COVID.
Yeah. It was the art show, wasn't it? It was the last time we saw it, or was it PAX?
Oh, there was a PAX U after the art show.
Yeah. So for those who don't know in the audience, we Kyle and Meredith, Kyle's spouse, and I, we conspired to have an art showing for him in Minneapolis, and we had an art showing for him in what was it, October 2019?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. The gallery's gone.
Yeah,
it didn't survive COVID, and but we surprised him with it. As much as he could because we had to plan air travel, and he had to pick which pieces he was going to put in it. But so it was a lot of fun.
Cool. So what have you been playing lately, Patrick?
Oh my God, Cole, you gotta help me.
No.
I've been playing this computer game called Against the Storm. I think I've told you about.
Yeah. Tell them.
Tell everybody.
Against the Storm.
So it is this amazing game. It's in a fantasy world. You are living in the bunker in the center of the world. That is like the ancients built it. It can survive any disaster, and every so often there's this magical storm that destroys everything, like a big hurricane. And then when the storm goes away, you all come out of the bunker, and you're a viceroy, which is like the rank of people that has to go out and recolonize the planet, drawing as many resources as you can from the planet as quickly as you can, sending them back to the bunker so that you're ready for the next storm. And that's abstracted. You send some resources back. That's all that matters. And so it's like a civ builder, like a city builder, except that you only do the first part over and over and over. You set up as many.
The fun part?
The fun part, yeah. You set up as many towns as you can. It's like usually 4 or 5 per cycle, as quickly as you can. The queen will send you orders, and so it's like it feels like a Euro. It feels like you drew a card, you drew 2 cards, and you're like, do I want to send back building materials, or am I going to try and send back 40 jerky? And then you're like, okay, I'm going to do this one. And then there's a prize for each one. Your reputation goes up, her impatience goes down. And when you get to you can also get reputation by adventuring on the map or just pleasing the people that live in the city. When it gets to 14, you move on to the next city. Move on. But you never see the whole tech tree at the same time is the crazy part. So like there's cornerstones, which are like passive abilities that you get. You see a pool of 3 of them every time you get one. You pick one. And then also, whenever you get a new building, which is like every reputation point, you get a new building added to your city, it shows you 3 options or 4 options and says, which of these buildings do you want now? And so you never get the best resource conversion.
Yep.
You have to deal with like what you're doing. Yeah, it probably is a little Frostpunk adjacent. So you always have to deal with like, oh, I don't know, I can't make cloth very well. So do I save the resource to make cloth, hoping I get a better building for it, or do I just make it now? And you can trade with other colonies. So sometimes you just gotta take it on the chin. You're like, we need 20 cloth right now. It's going to jumpstart our economy if we get it. So I got to trade for it. So it's an amazing experience. I might have to uninstall from my machine.
Oh, no. it sounds incredible, and I have not been installing it because the more I hear you talk about it, I'm like,
I'm more concerned.
No. Oh no, this game. Well, and it does, like, to me, the best roguelikes are games where you can't experience everything.
Right.
And so when you do your run, there are things you're going to see, there are things you aren't going to see. And it's the reason why I think I don't like Civ games, because you end up like, everybody gets everything. If you're playing a successful run, you've like unlocked the whole tree, as opposed to being like, no, you did one little path. That also, as you advance down this path, you're closing off other areas. Right. And so what you're describing is really intriguing.
And what I don't like about Civ games, and correct me if you feel I'm wrong, but I feel like every Civ game is play wide until the end of Act 1. So expand as quickly as possible, maybe war on some of your neighbors, take over some of their cities to get started, and then hunker down and play tall for as long as you can and get ahead on the tech curve, and then just blow everyone.
Well, you know what's especially like
you don't have to do that.
Irritating about that is that strategy paradigm you just laid out is like almost independent of game. You know what I mean? So like to start a game,
sure.
All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is go wide, and then I'm going to go tall, and it's like, but what if the game presented you with other options that you like couldn't do that, right? You had to play, and I think that this is why like I found myself moving to designs like Crusader Kings, which say like, no, you have choice. You are very limited in your choices. Or more recently, Old World, which I think is really cool. It's the newish Soren Johnson game that is a
Old World.
Yep, it's a really
because I need another game.
Well, you know what it is. It is great if you like the idea of Crusader Kings, but the gameplay is just too much, which I think is a very reasonable takeaway. I mean, Paradox games are always a bit extra, right? Old World,
I wouldn't know,
takes some lessons from the kind of character-driven stories that Crusader Kings generates, and then puts them in a more Sid Meier's style board gamey format. Yeah, really cool design.
Yeah, we're talking about Against the Storm, and we have played Endless Legend.
Yeah,
you and I have talked about it very directly.
Yeah, we like Endless Legend.
And Endless Legend, I think, does break that paradigm because there's one Civ, you have to play with one city.
But it breaks it at the level of asymmetry, not as like, it's not emergent. It's like when you like load in, you're like, I'm doing this one, so I'm gonna run it this way.
He wins. He wins. I sometimes in Endless Legend I will stop and play tall for the rest of the game. Not you still have to build up an army though, because you have to protect your borders. So which is good. So this pencil is uncharacteristically.
You were playing golf.
I uncharacteristically left my pen at home today, and so I took this from the print station. So I returned this to the print station.
You wanted to demean yourself. I will.
No eraser, no mistakes.
Yeah, only use the smallest pencil I can find. No eraser.
It was in the minute before I came down. So what have you been playing?
I have been playing. So in Computerland, the past 4 or 5 months, I have been playing StarCraft again, StarCraft 2, which is one of my favorite games. I am, I don't know. I'm probably like 6,000 matches into or maybe 12. Like I think I'm 6,000 wins, so I'm probably about 12,000 matches into my StarCraft 2 world. But what happens with StarCraft is I only get into it every once in a while, and I usually need a partner because I usually only play 2v2s these days. And what I'll say is, hey friend, do you want to get really into this? And it means when we lose, we're going to watch a replay. We're going to talk about it. It's going to be like, I mean, it's sort of like saying like, let's get good at a sport together or something. Yeah. And it's always intense. And then what happens is we see how good we can get, and we get to the point where we're like, this is now a source of frustration and stress in my life. Let's stop. But I'm still on the happy side of that curve, and I love the game to death. It is so beautifully designed, and I also they released a balance patch a few days ago. First balance patch to StarCraft 2 in a while. And I just love reading the balance patches because unlike Dota or League or something where a balance patch needs to like introduce a new meta, StarCraft, they're not trying to shake up the meta. They're like doing very finely tuned balances. And my favorite balance was the Ultralisk, the like big elephant looking Zerg unit. like got reduced by 11% in size.
Mm.
Which I love that as an idea of like what was wrong with this unit. It's not that its damage was too high or its health was too low or whatever. It's like, we just need to make the unit a little bit smaller.
Some more can stand next to each other.
Yeah, and I think it has to do with how they absorb siege tank hits. Because if they're big enough, like basically a siege tank can only hit one as opposed to like splashing across a couple. So I've been really enjoying StarCraft. I treated myself to the Dwarf Fortress release because I love Dwarf Fortress. That's a top 10 game for me. And I played a little bit, very beautiful. The people at KitFox did an amazing job getting that published. So I've been doing some Dwarf Fortressing, and then in the board game sphere, what have I been playing? I joined this war game book club. I don't really know the right way to describe it. And basically, the way I think it works, and I'm such a newbie, I don't know if it should be talking about. I'm in this wargaming club. And the way it works is they're like, here's a game, let's play different versions of it or whatever, and then we'll have a discussion about it, and then someone will elect like the next game. So it works like a book club, but so I've only been in there for a little bit, but we did one on coin, which was really interesting. We talked a lot about coin games, where they work well, where they don't work, and then this month or this like period, they're doing the games of Kevin Zucker, who is a Napoleonic wargamer, wargame designer, the same person who designed Habit of Victory. And what's interesting about Zucker's work is he starts in the 70s, and he's got some very early war games that these are like enemy zones of control, EZOCs, and you've got my units have a movement factor and a strength factor, and you're using a combat results table, and then he just kept making those games, but each one kind of introduced like another little layer. So he's like, okay, now we have a command point system. Like here's a supply system, and he's taken kind of breaks from the hobby at various times, but he's currently in the middle of this project where he has this one set of rules, which he is using to wargame every major engagement in the Napoleonic Wars. There's about 80 battles, and he's halfway through. And he releases like 2 titles a year. And each title has 4 battles that you can also assemble into a campaign. All the boards line up. And then he goes and does the next one. So he's doing 80 a year, I guess. And I love, there's nothing, and my brother knows this about me, there's nothing I love more than like a small team doing an impossibly large project slowly, which is like why I love Dwarf Fortress. And it's that meme of like the person going into the hole that's going to stretch them out and screaming that this is their hole. And I'm like, oh, is the Library of Napoleonic Battles? Is this like the thing that I get into? And then I'm no longer into board games outside of this one thing. But I've been playing them because they solo pretty easily. And so like in the evening, I've just been like pushing counters around and thinking through how they work, and I've really enjoyed it.
That's amazing. I was gonna ask you, how did you find an opponent for this much war game? But
No, I think the really good, I'm finding that the really good war games are, the thing that's interesting about them is the model, the like theory, and that can be enjoyed in the same way that you can like study a chessboard.
Yeah.
And so I've just been kind of just treating them like that, although they have really cool team play rules and they've got good hidden movement stuff. So there are reasons why I might have to recruit some people.
I haven't been playing Darkest Dungeon. I tried Darkest Dungeon.
Yeah, the board game.
Yeah, the board game.
And did you liked it more the second time?
I liked it more the second time. I don't know how to talk about it. I don't know how to talk about it in a stream. Maybe I should mention it during a stream.
Okay. Well, you have feelings.
I have feelings. There's some graphic design issues.
Well, whenever we get a game in studio, people need to know that we like rip it apart affectionately. Sometimes not affectionately, but we talk about everything that we can talk about and offer critique. And we're really just doing it. We're not doing it for like a hot take. We're just doing it
so we learn.
So we learn.
Yeah.
And so it's always done, in a kind of a friendly manner.
So
but that one got subject to.
I got a little scrutiny. So what I'm thinking is maybe it's just not a good solo game, and maybe it does have to be played with other players. And I think it's partially like the cognitive load, and partially the like. There's bad stuff happening to me, but there's also bad stuff happening to you. Instead of there's a lot of bad stuff happening to me. Yeah,
Interesting.
So, yeah.
Favorite coin. I haven't played it a lot, but I've learned it and thought about it a lot. But I think it might be a distant plane. The one I've played the most is probably Andean Abyss, which is probably my my actual favorite. And then Cuba Libre, I've played maybe 15, 20 times, and I think it's very good. But I also, I've weirdly gotten to the end of Cuba Libre where I feel like the same things happen every game, whereas Andean Abyss still feels very open.
Sure.
But they're all good. I haven't played like the weird ones yet, like Pendragon. There's a coin game about like Arthurian England. And I haven't touched it yet.
You can play Pen or Dragon.
Yeah, you can play Pen or Dragon. It's very asymmetric.
So we're 30 minutes in. We're still doing the intro.
We're talking.
We're talking design. Yeah.
Can I say one more thing about potential titles?
Yeah.
Because I'm debating what my winter game is going to be. My winter campaign.
I keep meaning to bring in Memoir.
So well, it could be maybe it would be Memoir, but like part of me wants to just keep playing Napoleonic battles. Part of me is thinking about doing Undaunted Stalingrad.
Oh yeah.
And the other, a very dark part of me, is wanting to maybe play Frosthaven. And this is a dark part of me.
Okay, wait. Let me. So Frosthaven.
Yeah, Frosthaven.
Stalingrad.
Yeah,
Undaunted.
Yeah, and then or I'll just keep playing Napoleonic battles. Or actually, you know what I need to play is I haven't played Carcosa. Not Carcosa. I haven't played Scarlet Keys.
Scarlet Keys,
which looks great. It looks wonderful. I got it all out and like kind of arranged it. I'm very pumped for that, but I'm realizing that maybe I should just try to do like one each month. But I've never had so many campaign options.
We've played a lot of Gloomhaven since we set it up.
Yeah,
we're in the second scenario. Ted had some issues and
it's just,
and the con, yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about what we're actually working on.
I should have brought the map down. Too late.
January.
We'll talk about it.
You'll see it in January.
We'll see it in January.
We got a wide format printer.
Yeah.
And it's a delight because it allows us to print off things at actual scale. What ends up happening is we'll design to scale, of course, but then the easiest way to print a lot of things that you design to scale, especially if you're designing like a 6-panel map. So you'll design a 6-panel map, but to print it, you can't print to the edge of the paper. So you'll reduce the size to like 96% and then cut it up. Or you can print it at actual size, but it takes like twice as much paper and a lot of cutting. So usually we say, well, let's just play in small land.
And it horrifies me every time you or Nick tell me, just print a little bit smaller. Print the cards a little bit smaller. I know they fit in the sleeves better, but it's not.
It's not. Yeah,
it's not what it is.
It's not the correct size, right? But now we have a wide format printer, and we can print things to scale. We bought.
We can just do cards.
We could. They're hard to cut though. You actually printing cards on paper is easier.
Okay.
You could. Yeah.
I'll be good.
It is not a plotter. It's a wide format printer.
Yeah,
I'm almost positive. But it's very beautiful. It's a beautiful.
It's fast too.
It's super fast.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting.
So the upshot is that you printed a complete ARCS board.
Yeah.
And I took, so Path is going to be hexes that the book has a paper in the back that says, otherwise known as a page, that tells you how to assemble the hexes into a few standard maps, and then it'll have like, here are the rules to make a path map work, and then you can build your own. But for the show, to make it easier to transport, I printed one page, and that was really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right, we'll talk about ARCS.
So let's talk about ARCS. So ARCS, so I mentioned earlier that ARCS had its like big check. It's like a soft beta or something.
Yeah.
Like we have like a public release. I'm watching a bunch of people who don't know how to play ARCS. And it went so well. I'm so happy with how it was received at the show, how many rules questions I got, which is very, very few. We did identify a few broken cards, which is fine. You're going to expect some broken cards. Well, actually, that happened mostly because we have we kind of know what cards are going to come in the core set, but then we have this big library of other card abilities, which might feature in different plot lines in the campaign or other expansions or whatever. And for the show, we decided, let's just put all of them in the box.
Sure.
Because it'll just kind of be like, it's like playing a Cosmic with all the aliens. Like you're going to run into some goofy stuff. And it turns out, I went over there and someone said, oh, we have a question about this card. And they showed me the card and I was like, oh, this card is goofy. This is a silly, strange power. Why are you playing with this card? And it's because I put it in the box. But the game was received really well. And now what I've been doing is going back to the campaign mode. And basically over the past month or so, I've been updating the campaign game. been really interesting. So I talked about this a little bit in our chat before PAX U. Basically, so essentially the core game is the foundation of the game. And there were certain parts of the design which are sticking out of the foundation, and they don't work very well. And so either I have to make a decision about like building out the foundation a little bit, or finding another way to conceptualize that plot line. And generally, what I'm finding is that most of the content that I generate for the campaign still works. The stuff that doesn't work because it was never actually that interesting. It was like surviving mostly as like kind of like fodder, which is fine because when you're designing earlier, you need to fill out the card list, and sometimes you duplicate cards, or sometimes you invent a lot of cards that aren't that good. So now all the foundations are in place for the game. What I'm doing with the campaign game is I'm kind of organizing all the content we have. So we have about, to put this in kind of clear terms, I have about 250 cards of like content. And those cards, some of them aren't going to work, some of them are going to work, but all of them need rewritten to work with the current system of the game, and then they need organized into these little boxes. And for a while, and I talked about this a little bit on the company Slack, for a while I was having a lot of trouble doing this because, when you're working on a design, you always have to, you do this iterative loop. And the iterative loop, which we've talked about before, it's a very simple idea. You have to have an idea, you have to put it into practice, you have to test it, you have to react to it, and then you have to revise the idea. And then you just kind of like keep going in that loop. The bigger the loop is, the harder it is to make things, because it takes longer to get to, assume that a game needs 1,000 iterations. The length of time it takes to do one iteration is going to determine how quickly it's going to take to get to that 1,000 mark. What was happening with ARCs is because the core system is so open, players can make so many big decisions about the game and spin it in all these directions. My iterative loop was very slow. I had to go through and basically like revise, like as if I was revising a deck of oath cards each time I needed to like change or add content. So what I've done is I kind of atomized the design, and I'm now going to try working in layers. This is this is kind of similar to how John Company's development worked, where I would basically say like, okay, we're not going to play full featured arcs. We're going to play arcs with this layer totally done. And so I've kind of taken the campaign game, and instead of trying to do, basically I'm moving from, this is a very scattered way of talking about it, but I'm moving from a like vertical slice testing model to a horizontal slice. And so I'm starting with like, let's just work on all the core rules modules and victory conditions in the campaign. So these are like how you get points and also the big changes in the design. And once that works, we get all those tested and good, we go to the next horizontal layer, which is like the fun abilities and the like flavorful tech and the like what the big laser gun does that you unlocked. And then we'll get that layer working. And then the layer on top of that is like the adapting market and more of like the ambient design elements. And it's weird to be saying this because there is content from all 3 or 4 of those layers right now.
Right.
But I have to isolate if we need to test. So we are, to back everything out, basically, in the last 2 months, 3 months, the campaign has probably gone from being like 30% done to like 32% done. It's moving very, very slow, but everything is now organized in such a way that we can start working really rapidly and get it all going. The other note I'll say about the broader studio is, while I've been futzing around with this campaign, it's given Josh and Nick time to work on other projects, which are exciting. But now that I'm like almost ready to open up this part of testing, I'm going to be pulling them back in, and we're going to start moving much faster.
Right.
And so things are going to really start picking up in the next 2 or 3 months.
He might even get desperate enough to call me in to do some. I'll do testing, of course, but yeah.
Yeah, but this is actually a place where I could tell someone like, hey, we have like a plot line about being a space pirate.
What does the laser do?
Do you want to design the space pirate like subplot?
Right.
And getting all that stuff kind of working.
Will I be able to arbitrarily blow up a planet during the game?
Maybe not arbitrarily, but
Yeah,
I think there'll probably be some kind of map destruction.
That was my TI1 experience.
Yeah.
It was always like, oh, I can blow up a planet now, I'm going to do it. I'd be like, but what are you getting?
Yeah. Well, it's funny you mentioned that because like I think this is a good, like when it comes to the question of foundation, you only want to allow players to do things in a thematic game like this. What players do should make sense in the space of the world. So like, obviously like destroying a planet seems like a big deal. It would be like pretty disruptive. It should mean something more than like, oh, the map's smaller now.
Yeah, there should be political ramifications.
Yeah, there needs to be something. And when we were working on the rules about city destruction, we like kept trying. Like initially, we hit a wall because we were thinking about city destruction just as like a scoring condition or something like that. And then eventually, it was like, no. What does it mean in terms of the political logic of the game if you destroy a city?
Right.
Let's actually talk about like that. Let's attack it from that angle. Once we attacked it from that angle, the rules of the like hatred terror tokens came through pretty clearly. You can write me, hey Root JC. You can write me a direct message on Twitter.
Yeah, or contact support.
Or contact
They'll
support.
Get it to you. Support at leadergames.com.
Yeah,
that's how I recommend you contact everybody.
All right, Patrick. I've done my part.
Oh boy.
Let's talk about Path.
All right, let's talk about Path. It's coming along. I think we've hit the point where how did I describe it to you? We've hit the point where all the verbs are hanging off of it well. Now it is about. I don't like it. The viability is there. Now it's about determining what it is. I don't know. But what did I say about it?
Yeah. I'm trying to think about how Path is different now. It's the same game. It's just things are like starting to be put into tension.
Right.
So Path is always. Can I talk about Path for a second?
Yeah, absolutely.
The scope of Path has been pretty clearly defined for months.
Yeah.
Like we know there are vagabond adventurers.
Yep.
They're managing a party.
Right.
They can get victory points through their relationship to each other and also the factions.
Right.
And the faction layer kind of like sits above the vagabond layer.
Yep.
And provides context for their actions. That stuff that's been true for months.
Yeah.
The question is exactly what kind of tension and relationship.
Where the tension is and when it's going to hit. So, yeah. So we've built a game. I've built a game. The vagabonds are running across the hex map right now. The paths are back in that you can explore the paths and build paths. I guess that's why it's been there. So lately we've been working on, and you and I just had I'm still sorting through everything we talked about, which maybe I should have been able to do by now. I don't know. It was a lot to do.
There's a lot to talk about.
So we've defined what happens to a faction when. Let's go through some terms. So there's Vagabond, which is the player. There's Denizen, which is the people of the forest, which are pretty abstract right now. So they're going to be. They just present themselves as missions or jobs on the map. And jobs, so a bunny will pop up and say, I need you to do X. And they're going to you have to go do X for the bunnies. And then there's faction, which is how it is presented in Root, where it is the group with agency, above the denizens. And so right now, what I've been working on is what does it mean if you're an ally or an enemy of one of the factions? And I think now we have room to allow the players to lead, kind of like in Root, where you can lead an attack with those troops. And what does that, that could be really good. I don't want that to be as good as it could be, I guess. I don't know. So, how do I add some support from the allied faction, from the enemy faction?
Yeah.
So we've been working through that. So right now it is, if you're allied with a faction, you can attack factions that are stronger than them on their behalf, and that gives that faction territory. So the factions in the game will be fighting for territory during the game,
right?
And they can take over towns from each other, and whichever faction has the most towns under their control is dominant, and the dominant faction scores better than the other factions. And so right now you can attack on behalf of the faction you're allied with, but only against stronger ones. I don't know if I've put that in. I'm going to test it, see how I like it. Strength might have to be how many towns you control, not actual military strength. And then if you're an enemy of a faction, then you can attack them on behalf of factions that are weaker than that faction and take over towns for them. So I've been working on that. We've been talking about splitting denizens and factions. So in the previous version, whenever you finished a job on the map, so you'd finish a job and it would say go do this, go to this gang and get this bounty. So complete this bounty hunt. So you go complete a bounty hunt, and then when you get back to the keep, you flip it over, and that becomes a cat influence for you. So now Cole, for lore reasons, has asked that I split those two. And I think it was primarily for lore reasons, yeah. So right now there is just a lot of jobs, delivering bounties, guarding things, going into ruins and recovering relics. And those can be paired with any faction in the game to give you influence. So I'm kind of like today and yesterday I've been just working on puzzling out how I want that represented on the board, because right now that's the simplest form would be to do 2 tokens. But I'm trying to figure out, like, do we still need the influence token anymore, or can we just track influence on your board? Those sorts of, like, and the hierarchy, the visual hierarchy that creates.
Yeah, and then I mean, then there's this other question that's going to follow from that, which is like, if the factions don't have particular quest types,
Yes.
how are they getting their identity?
Sure.
And because right now, like, the identity of the factions is bound up in the quest types, so you're removing some expressiveness from the faction identity.
Right.
That gives you room to put it in other places.
Right.
But this is an interesting. I mean, I think Path is in a really interesting spot, because I think you're in the design phase, but I can see the end of the design phase. It's like, we have all the terms, everything's on the table, and there's like a few systems that need to lock in place, and then once that happens, it's worth.
I think we're pretty close.
Yeah. I think it's looking really good for us sharing a lot more about that this year.
And then, so we're working on that, and then, so right now you're doing your 3 actions every turn, and then the goal was to make. You do not typically. I talked about ally and enemy at the beginning of this, but. Typically, you don't. That's not how attacks happen. Attacks are supposed to be organic between the factions, and so we've experimented with a lot of systems. And presently, at the end of your turn, you're drawing a piece and putting it into like a matrix of pieces, kind of like. I'm trying to think of like what is it like? So it's
a weird system.
It's a weird system. It's creating sentences out on the table, and then. You can either add another piece to that matrix, or you can resolve 1 row or 1 column of words. So it'll say like cats attack knaves. So then you have that combat take place. It's a little slow, and it's easy to forget because it's always at the end of your turn. So I've been trying to move it to something that happens during the turn, and now we're experimenting with this system where, it's not fully fleshed out yet. Again, this is. You can have an idea, but you gotta rubber's gotta hit the road. You still gotta make pieces to it, yeah. And so what happens now is every time you finish, like for instance, you do a job for the cats, then you can take a die from the stock, and the dice will be, it'll have the 4 blank faces and 2 faces for the a faction. So you pick up a bird die and you put it in the cat box, and then you roll all the cat dice. And if they hit a certain threshold of faces on those dice, then the cats will attack that faction. And so it's uncertain if they'll attack or not, but you know that you're building towards certainty as you add more dice to it, and then the dice will clear out whenever there's an attack. Yeah. And then, but there's some other rubs to that, like how powerful is the faction? Are there going to be dice that provide power? Are there going to be dice that provide defense and things like that? So I'm working through that right now. So. And then lastly, we talk about a lot. I just wrote down things to talk about. If you want to stop on any, go ahead.
You're good.
So lastly, the other evolution that came in the past couple of months has been we talk a lot about ending, how to end games. I think you and I talked quite a bit about how to end games. Yeah, and Arcs is hitting. Obviously, it's in the right spot.
It started with that question.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So hopefully you've answered. Yeah. hopefully you've arrived. And so like one of the criticisms that I think you and I have both had of Root is the saw that we have here called the boot problem, which is where if you're at 29 points and you craft a boot, you can win the game.
Right.
And it just feels it's fine. Yeah. You already won the game. It's just you're now finishing the game. Yeah. And so what we've been working on is the system that I've been calling 3 crowns. And it doesn't have to be a crown in the final design. We'll talk about what it is. And so every time the rumor system gets to a certain weight, or every time a player finishes a mission, which is a more specific job that you do for a faction, or every time a certain number of cities gets destroyed by the knaves, you put a crown into play. And when you hit the third crown, then that's what ends the game. And so the end of the game could peter out. It could be based on rumors, but it also could be, and even that's fine because then there was a sudden shift in the balance of power at the end of the game. But finishing it on a high note, I just finished a big mission. Now the game's over. It's kind of what that's adding attention to.
Right.
I don't know if it's working yet.
Yeah. It's a hard problem, especially in an open world game. I mean, Vet and I have talked about this too. So an open world game I really like, Zia. I love Zia. I have all the bits and bobs for it. I got a nice insert. Love playing Zia. But when I sit down to play Zia, we usually say, let's play Zia for checks watch 3 hours.
Yeah.
At the end of 3 hours, whoever has the most points wins. And we will play hard. I mean, I will be hunting for points. We'll be very aggressive. But it's not a tournament game. It doesn't feel like playing to 10 is any more. I mean, maybe that's it. Playing to 10 in Zia isn't any more amazing than playing to 7.
Right.
And I can recognize that, like, obviously that is all better and more robust than playing to like 2 or 3.
Right.
But whereas, like, if you look at Catan, I love Catan's victory point condition, the 10 points, because you look at your settlements and the development cards in the cities, and like there aren't that many ways to make 10 points. And you like start adding them up, and you're like, oh, it's got 3 acts, it's got these like different moments, and it's being handled like very, very subtly. And I think Root does a reasonable job, but it does have this problem where sometimes the game doesn't end when narratively it should have. But that's the nature.
But it's still Root. It's still fantastic.
Well, thank you, but it's just a little different. And actually, it's funny. Like when we were working on ARCs, one of the biggest problems, but one of the biggest challenges of ARCs was, can we make a game where the ending always feels earned? And I think Oath does do that very well. But it also means that the game is always stressful.
Right.
And so like you're like,
on the other hand,
it's like, oh, and then this happened. So I think that you're always having to balance these things. So Path is making great progress. I'm really, really happy with it. It seems when people leave your office after they played it, they seem excited.
Yes.
And I haven't played it in a bit, but I've watched some games. And I imagine I'll probably play it later this week or next week.
Yeah, there's every early thing you have a day where you play and you're like, God, what are we doing?
Yeah. Well, and it's funny, and this is a whole other conversation that you and I can have at some point. But like Path's relationship to Root is really interesting because it is. I can't tell if it's getting more Root-ish or less. Like, and it's because like at some point, if you give the factions enough agency, they'll start behaving like Root.
They'll just be playing Root.
Yeah, just playing Root. So you like need to keep them slightly abstracted. Right. And likewise, like right now the design is very like clean. But part of what, if you make it too clean, you'll get to like the Root Vagabond.
Right.
And like this is an open world adventure game where like it needs to have like a war game scale. Like it needs to be at a slightly different scale than Root.
Right.
And so I think the places where the scales start approaching each other, you're like, ooh, does this feel like it's itself? And the play, when I see the Vagabonds, to me, the whole key to that is like the way the Path handles the ruins. Where I'm like, this is Root at a very different scale. Right. I think that's the part that's compelling.
So right now with the ruins, for the audience, not for Cole's benefit, is you play kind of a press your luck game.
Sure.
With you flip over cards from the ruins, and you're trying to get 5 cards out of the ruin. And some of them have hazards on them. Most of them have hazards on them. And then you're playing something from your hand, or a character in your party can mitigate some of the hazard cards. And so then you lose the run if you hit 3 hazards or 2 in a row right now. And so there's little mini games like that fill the change the tension. So I am very sensitive like to the idea that like we shouldn't have tokens you flip over to power your actions. Things like that. Yeah. Because it would be. I'd just be building the Vagabond inside of its own game, and that'd be very silly. So, but no, but it's interesting because I think a really shallow review of the game, you would see that because you'd be like, well, there's hammers, there's swords, there's like if you use the same iconography, but they mean and they still mean from a thematic standpoint, a sword is still for attacking, but how does it contribute to an attack is very different now. So yeah, cool.
Sweet. All right. Well, should we talk about a little bit of studio business?
Yeah, let's talk about it.
So a few little announcements. One, the studio will be closed from basically New Year's Eve till the day after New Year's, so till the 2nd.
Christmas Eve.
Sorry, Christmas Eve. Yes, it'll be closed from the 24th to the 2nd. So if you send us a message during that time, we won't get back to you. And then, of course, some of you will send us messages, which means when we do get back, there'll be a bit of a backlog, which we'll have to resolve, which that's how it goes. Ahoy is for sale right now. We have it in stock. I don't know if you ordered it today, if it would be there before Christmas. I will say that we cannot guarantee. Almost certainly we cannot guarantee that. But it might.
I haven't been following that enough to know.
No, there's just, but that's true of anything you buy right now.
Right now.
That's just how it is. But Ahoy's for sale. We've been super happy seeing people play it, get into it. I don't know. It's always funny when a game releases because these are games that we have played a lot and thought about and really enjoyed. And then it's nice to finally be able to talk about them with people outside the studio.
I've already fielded several, is there going to be a Ahoy
expansion?
And I'm like, I don't know, man. It's like the first week at 2. It's first
yeah,
2 weeks of sales.
We have to see, our general rule. I think the rule that we're having with expansions lately is we kind of we'll follow the audience a little bit, with some exceptions. And so if people really want us to do an Ahoy expansion, that's something that we can maybe look at, but we're not planning on anything. And we probably won't look at it seriously until this summer.
We certainly didn't hold any content back for it.
No.
Yeah. That was,
and then
I know we did cut a roll, but that was a design decision.
Yep. Yeah. And and that role could be something that we might put in the expansion, but we didn't say, aha, this is our expansion box.
Yeah. EU should be I think it actually got there. I think it's been there longer, and always been there longer. So. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good. And then some folks have asked about the Oath expansion. I put some work in it over PAX Unplugged actually. It's it's basically waiting for ARCs to get a little further along before I really get in the weeds, but we'll talk more about it probably in February.
I have an imp that sneaks into Cole's room every night
and just whispers
into his ear, "Troll country."
Troll.
Corner boards. No, I don't do that.
And I think
there's no imps for starters.
There are no imps.
Yeah, that's our thing. Yeah, I think that's all studio business. Our producer can tell us if there is anything that we missed. There was a question up above about Path being the next funding event. I believe so.
It depends. So Path will certainly be the next Kickstarter.
Yeah.
There's a world that an Oath expansion would happen first, but it would be on BackerKit.
Yeah.
And it'd be more like a pre-order. It'd have a little bit of a different structure. Yeah. Our next big Kickstarter will almost certainly be Path. But we don't know when yet.
Yeah.
We haven't even had our scheduling meeting, so.
Yeah.
Not the real one. We have lots of little scheduling.
Yeah, we have lots of them, yeah. So.
Okay, cool. Well, I hope you all have a wonderful holiday season. Watch some good holiday movies. Do you have a holiday movie to recommend, Patrick?
Well, we watch Home Alone every year.
Oh, see, perfect.
It's
perfect.
Great, it's easy. And what do you watch every year?
We have a bunch of old movies. We watched The Apartment last year, which I really liked, and Shop Around the Corner, both of which we will probably watch again. Brooke wants to suggest White Christmas, which is a good suggestion. Katie and I have also been watching different Christmas carols. So we always watch Muppet Christmas Carol, of course, because it's excellent. But we've been watching different ones. Last year we watched the Alistair Sim Scrooge from 51. Yeah. That was awesome. But we have now gotten to an unfortunate juncture, which is we are out of good Christmas carols. We've been doing this for years. And so we are debating, do we stop this tradition or do we watch the Robert Zemeckis horrible CGI Christmas Carol with Jim Carrey? There are in fact a lot of bad ones.
You could go to the Guthrie and watch the Christmas Carol at the Guthrie.
That'd be great.
They put that on every year. I met one of the actors while I was looking for houses because he was the understudy for Scrooge.
Ooh, that's good. And then Brooke also suggests Rare Imports.
Oh, right, yeah. Okay, but content warning.
Oh, and also, yeah,
This is a horror movie.
Klaus, very good. And of course, I'm a huge backer, defender, supporter of It's a Wonderful Life. I think it's an incredible movie. And I think it's a movie that I only watched small sections of on TV throughout my life. And then it was only like probably 4 or 5 years ago I sat down and watched the whole thing and was like, oh, this movie, it's excellent.
It's good. Yeah, well, it's because the TV edits a lot too. Like there was a TV edit for a while that kind of took the heart out of
I
it.
think it's great.
Are we gonna do camera two?
Oh, yeah.
Let me get my soda out of the way. My family put together a little holiday
Oh yeah, we have lots of
tableau for you
Woo!
all.
Use the multi-cameras.
So this is, of course, Santa's sleigh here. My my eldest child, put this together, and we have a lot of Santas from various kits.
Sure.
So we put all the Santas on it. We call them the Santa Stuntas because the Santa Stunta team. And then my wife put together this tree for us.
I
So,
love it.
Yeah.
Just a lot of fun Lego sets.
We have a problem with Christmas Legos. We're probably about 2 years behind.
Oh, yeah, I'm now seeing that problem.
Yeah, it expresses itself. So.
All right. Well, thank you all for watching, and we will see you for our next design stream January 10th, so second Tuesday in January.
And I will bring a map with me.
Yeah. All right. Take care, everyone.
Take care. Bye-bye.